Welcome back, everyone.
So thanks, Marie. Would you like me to come on and introduce Jessie? Jessie, can we see you?
We can see me and hear me, and you are seen and heard.
Hi.
Hi.
Before we start, I guess I would ask you maybe to introduce yourself in a way that you would like to, but I also I want to ask you a question that this is our last question we've been asking people. I want to ask you that question. And I also want to give you just a quick review of what we've been doing here for the last 7 hours. And that has, yeah, 7 hours, 6 hours, 6 hours. So we've been primarily focusing on Martin Luther King, his legacy, his teachings, and also the comparisons between Martin Luther King and Marianne. She's been an ardent student of his legacy all of her life. So that's a little bit of it. Oh, we did talk a little bit about our stripped down for what? Do you guys remember stripped down for what? Angie's thing?
Yes, I remember you telling me about this.
Well, we
Media
changed
blackout.
the name. It's stripped down for something.
The media
So if
blackout.
it's going to be at Campus Marcia's on the 26th, and there'll be a planning session on the 19th. So if you know anybody that's interested, you could just have them contact me. I guess I don't have Angie stuff right here, but just if you happen to.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And so why don't you just say a little bit about who you are, and then I'll ask you the next question that we've been working with, the last question we've been working with, and then we'll go into the topic that we agreed we were going to talk about.
Sure. So, hi, everybody. My name is Jessie Katch. I've been very passionate about societal issues, beginning with truth since I was 12 years old. And I'm sure, like many of you, I've been keenly keeping an eye out for appropriate places to put that energy where it can have a real impact. And I'm excited because I think this is something with a tangible outcome that is aligned from many different parties and angles and seems something worth fighting for. So that's why I'm here.
Thanks, Jessie. So we're going to start with asking you the last question that we've all answered, and that is, after Marianne has become president, she's been in the Oval Office for 4 years. Then how do you see our country or our world 10 years later? So we're really talking about 6 years after Marianne leaves office, hands it over to a young person, and 10 years later, how do you see our country and the world?
I think we start talking about some type of global oversight committee. I think we're more invested in space travel than war. I think we have achieved some type of first world agreement to limit fossil fuels to the point of beginning to reverse the effect that we've already started to feel, especially this year that we've had on climate change. And I'd like to also believe that the conflicts between organized religions would be much more subdued, if not pretty much over. And I don't think those are unreasonable goals for the time frame. I think that what we need is 3 or 4 world leaders in power at once, willing to overlook the traditional barriers that nations and states have been dealing with since the Middle Ages, because we haven't yet come to the understanding, or we've come to the understanding, but we haven't put into practice the true effect globalization is going to have on the world. It's either going to turn into successful tribalism, or it's going to be a very top-down hierarchical system that will be for good or bad. So I think that's kind of the first thing that we have to grapple with, is really the fact that the amount of information that is being shared and how quickly is going to be the determining factor. And what that information is, how it's spread, and who believes what, and how we have methods of verifying what's true is going to be, I think, the most important factor in the next 10 years.
Wow, that's intense. Yeah. It leads us into what we've invited you on to talk about, and that is social media as protest, or how social media can be used most effectively in protest. So, and I just, when thinking about EI and how that weaves into that is something that kind of makes my brain get pretty going on tilt. So yeah, so I'm just gonna just lead with that question. Just if you would just talk to us a little bit about how you see social media playing a role in protest and change.
Sure. So we've seen with things most recently with the Bud Light situation that happened, and before that with Black Lives Matter, and the first thing I would say was the Occupy Wall Street. We've seen how social media movements can cause sparks that translate much faster than things have been able to before, and because of the way information is shared, there's like a hive reaction to events happening in the world. And I think, again, it comes back to what you were saying about AI, but also the companies that are in control of this information. I think the main challenge coming up that we're already dealing with, but we don't really know how much, is how much are these topics and information being controlled already? We know that certain things get throttled. I run a relatively successful TikTok page, and the first big hit my things took is as soon as I even said the word Ukraine in a video, it was an immediate drop. And I think that it's important not to look at these things as malicious or conspiratorial bents towards violence or Armageddon or whatever the other side is. But I think they're corporate decisions. Why would we take this risk on our platform? It can have backlash. So I think a language and an organizational forum where people can speak freely without corporate interest is really important, because I think ultimately the reason things get throttled is because advertisers, like example, what happened with the Bud Light thing, their ad campaign became a big sensation, and then people protested pretty much exclusively on the internet, and they caused a significant decrease in Bud Light stock sales. Now, you can agree or disagree with the reason that happened and what the campaign was about, but the fact of the matter is that within one quarter, they'd lost over 10% of their stock value. And this is like one of the biggest brands in America, really, if you think about it. So I think that if we were all able to get on the same page about important issues quickly, I don't think that even that 10-year timeline to solve most of the problems is that unreasonable. The question is, how, once we get organized quickly, how will corporate powers and other interests combat that? And how can we be prepared and ready to face those challenges? And I think that's more of a question that I'm asking, because I think that the more you're involved in politics and big media, the more of an understanding you have of that. And mine is relatively surface, but I think that's a very important question that I'd love to hear Marianne talk about her experience with.
Yeah, if I can interject there,
Sure.
it's fascinating to me. What popped in my mind is, because Marianne is being blocked, she's being blacked out. She does the only thing that she can do, and that is use social media. And
Yeah.
she's using social media as well as she possibly can. She's just doing her very, very best. So the irony here is that as she's using social media, because that's her only option, besides speaking, at venues, she's doing something that mainstream politicians have not been doing.
Yes.
So it gives her an edge, actually. I've thought that for a while. It gives her an edge, but it also gives her an edge on her understanding of how it works, what happens, what the lay of the land is. So that's really interesting. And I'm looking forward to to your having a conversation with Marianne that I think is going to be happening soon. And I just think that's a fascinating topic to be talking with Marianne about.
I think what's so important about this is that the unification of the alliance of the people who care about peace and can agree on basic core principles of kindness. I think that in order to unify them beyond reproach, the most important thing that we can do is have as many different leaders as possible. And I think so many times we get caught up in hot button issues that really, they're important issues, but to the grand scheme of the future of the world, they're almost irrelevant because we're in crunch time and we need to make the big decisions now. Who uses what bathroom, for example, seems like of little importance compared to the end of human civilization. It's an important issue, but when we get into the weeds on these issues, we divide the team. And I think that a lot of people are specifically pushing these issues so that the unification can't happen. And I think allowing your emotions to get involved with a lot of these, what to many people are like personal or identity issues, is just the easiest way to trigger people and make sure that they stay in factions rather than unifying. When like 90% of people, Republicans and Democrats, can agree, if you talk to them and you don't use language where they've been trained to avoid certain words, if you don't use that language, everybody's agreeing pretty much. It's the method might be differing, but we can agree on goals. And the way that the media presents it now is that we are either going to be, communist or fascists. And I think that's really like, less than 10% of the population is actually on one of those two teams.
I'll be asking Jessie questions, throughout. And if anybody has a question that they want to ask, why don't we, have that model that anybody can do that.
Yeah, I'd love to engage in a discussion with anybody. I mean, these are all super fresh ideas too, because really social media has only had this much of an impact, or we've had theories of how it could act, but proof of theory where we realize this is actually that powerful was Donald Trump. And in a lot of ways, I think hopefully eventually I will be grateful to Trump for kind of breaking this glass ceiling of how things are just done by the book. And hopefully we will have learned from that and we will use it for good.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah, please, Rita. Nice to Rita, right?
LB.
LB. Sorry, I thought I saw your name Rita come up earlier, but I'm Jessie. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I am just I love what potentially can be done with social media, and I think when I first saw it really used was with Obama, because he didn't nobody knew what social media was. It was like brand new. And he was like just using something they weren't, they didn't have the websites and Facebook and all that. And he just went in there and took it over. Plus he had Oprah introduce him to the world, which I'm not even gonna talk about how she should be introducing Marianne and what they could do. I just won't even go there. So it's like, it's not new now, it's like the genie's been let out of the bottle about how powerful it is. So now it's like, really, okay, so is there still a strategy that can be used with social media where you can have that kind of success? Does that still exist? And do we need to use AI? Marianne hates AI, by the way, but is there a strategy that we can still use in social media to get that kind of viral thing going?
Yes,
like
and
Jessie,
I'll tell you,
I think she should slap me. What if we had a video of Marianne slapping me like Will Smith slapped Chris Rock? Don't you think that would go viral?
What's really funny is
saying she went crazy.
Yeah, what's really funny is my friends and I are actually doing a video just like that to promote our new song.
Yes.
But I think the strategy has proof of theory all the time, and I think the easiest way to answer that is it's in these corporations' benefit for things to go viral. It's just not in their benefit for things that are directly controversial to go viral in a way that can affect them. It's to their advantage to things be controversial that can affect them. It's all outside. So what we need is we kind of need a Trojan horse, if you will. The strategy of social media is we need leaders that can talk the talk of the people, and then when it comes time for decisions, it's not made on social media. We need influencers as politicians in a way that we haven't been willing to accept because we've looked at internet as a subculture. We've looked at it as something that is, oh, like the younger generation's doing it, but oh, they're so silly with all of their jokes. It's like, I know that a lot of people don't think like that, but it still is not taken seriously. Like, if you say you're an influencer, most people that I see will be like, oh, like you're doing, like that. When it's like, that's really the most important job that there is right now. And so I think it's, these systems were built to help for this purpose, to connect people, right? No matter how hard they try to censor it, there will always be a way for it to be beneficial for the companies who are providing the service for things to go viral. So you just have to figure out what that is. And I think the arts are really big. I think that having a product or a candidate is really big. I think the reason that Marianne specifically and many others in the political spectrum that have been trying to do this, like Bernie and Andrew Yang, yes, they've had big movements, but it's been capped because they're still presenting as politicians, and they are politicians, but that was what was so successful about Trump. The reason young people don't trust politicians is because they so thoroughly are convinced that the entire system is corrupt. So therefore, your entry into the system must mean that you are corrupt. Whether that's true or not, I don't know because I'm not there. But I do know that the way to Trump laid out a blueprint and failed, right? But his blueprint was going a different direction than we want to go, but it worked almost. And the only reason it didn't work is because of his own incompetence. So I think having the outsider perspective from politics, but the insider perspective from compassion and wisdom is something that's really should be almost easy to do. I think the mistake people make is coming across too professional, too well polished, and like they're trying to sell you something.
That is so insightful what you just shared. I almost want to push a rewind button and have you say it again because it just made a light go on. You just made a light go on. Thank you.
Thank you for talking with me. I think that the most effective way to protest is clearly in a corporate society is with your money. And so the question is, how do we choose what? And it doesn't have to be boycotts. It can be we all spend our money on one thing. There's one thing, donate to this campaign or donate to this cause. There's another thing, here, we're selling this product and all the money that we use is going to be for this. We want to play the game that we're dealt. We're playing this game, so let's use this game to our advantage.
Yeah, I want to pop in real quick. This is Rita.
Hi, Rita.
Hey, what's up?
I like your hat.
Thank you. And thank you so much for you basically earlier before you came on, you basically, like LB said, what you said was great. You basically flushed out something that I had said earlier, which is about Trump, which is what he did is break the glass ceiling, make people think differently about who could actually be a candidate, who could we consider to be a leader.
Exactly.
And you went further than I did, but all of that is what I've been trying to say, like subconsciously or consciously for people that finally got onto it, like you're saying, and others, but subconsciously people like were able to think different about who could be a leader and what it means to be a leader. Yes. So I love that. I know you're younger than me, so I love that.
I don't know, maybe not. We both got baby faces though.
It's millennial meets Gen X.
I think
you're Gen Z.
I'm technically a millennial.
You're a millennial?
Okay. I'm a millennial. I'm technically I'm 42. I'll say my age. I'm 42.
What? No way. I'm 28. Yeah.
That's what I said. I know you're younger than me. If I took this hat that you like off, you'd see a lot of grays already. So I'm not on the ticky-tacky, right? I'm 42, right? I'm not on the TikTok, but are you on Instagram? And are people using Instagram this time around? I've seen that Marianne has been on TikTok a couple times, and I've like haven't been able to go to her lives and stuff. But like, do you still feel like Instagram's a great platform to use, and how are people using it?
Look, so the fact of the matter is that YouTube and TikTok reward you for your attention more than any other platform. The reason that Instagram is so important is that it's my business card. It is a trusted source to be able to show that I am what I say I am in my field. And I think that the vast majority of people that are driving the money on Instagram use Instagram in a similar way to that. But I think that yeah, of course, everybody still uses Instagram. It's Facebook Meta as Instagram and Facebook is definitely the strongest foothold in social media. TikTok would be if it was an American company and it had a few more years under its belt. And live is definitely the way to go right now. The algorithms are always pushing people out for live because the algorithm wants to blow you up. I think there's this scarcity mindset around how to go viral. The algorithm desperately wants to make you go viral because it's rewarding people for watching your stuff. And so the way that they ensure people have enough content is through a basic rule of consistency and engagement. So one half of the equation, to the best of my knowledge, is are you regularly creating? And then the other half is how well is the content performing with the group that we show it to before we enlarge that scope. I've seen people with content that is frankly not that great that have a substantial following after 6 months of posting 2 times a day. The reason TikTok is so effective is because it's combined all forms of the media video stuff. So they have like 15, 30, 60-second and 3-minute videos that are also linked into basically a built-in music player. And the creative aspect is really cool. So I think TikTok's probably the most important in terms of the market for attention right now. But I think it's about diversity. You just have to have the most diverse following that you can over many different platforms. I use Instagram mainly right now. TikTok, I was doing like a spiritual niche that went really well for me, but I wasn't able to keep up with the consistency rule. And part of the problem with the consistency rule is that the longer you're creating stuff, it's rewarding you for making content, but it also is rewarding you for quality content. So over time, creators tend to either go up or down based on whether their content is able to be produced quickly, and that often lowers the quality threshold of the things that are reaching the top of the food chain. But that's just the nature of the beast, and that'll be with every industry. I think hashtags are still important to organize. I don't really see, other than like leaders are great. Oh, this guy's talking about this, I'll follow him, and everybody who follows him becomes a community, and then you talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, but what if the guy gets, caught with drugs or canceled or says the wrong thing on TV? It's like, and everybody's fallible. Everybody has these moments through their life. We have to be able to unify beyond that. So I think at this time, I don't see another version besides hashtags that allow people to unify behind an idea.
Okay, that's good to know. Well, can you drop your Instagram in the chat, please? And then also, so are you, I don't know if you said at the beginning, are you officially like a supporter of Marianne, or are you just, I think you just said that you were politically active, but like, is that your choice right now?
1 second, I'm putting my TikTok and my Instagram in here.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I didn't anticipate. I haven't. She has my vote at this point. There's no other candidate in the race that even comes close to aligning through the spiritual element to the policy element, and I think that that's necessary. I mean, older politicians have understood this always, even if they were aligning themselves through organized religion. It's so important to be like, I'm going to do the right thing because I believe in something. It doesn't have to be a god, but people want to feel that you are a spiritual being if you're a leader. And I think we lost that for so long that it was why anger and fear came in its place. Dr. King was one of the last like truly spiritual leaders that didn't have a big fall from grace. And I think Marianne, the first impression I got of her when I saw her on the debate stage was that she was not scared to phrase things in a way that definitely did isolate her from the other candidates. And I think it might have not worked that time, but I think that language is going to be the most important tool that we have, because as society moves past the need for organized religion and moves further into spiritual individualism, they will be extremely ready for this type of dialogue. And that's what's going to make people trust you, is that ability to speak from your heart and take those risks.
Oh, magnificent, Jess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some of the principles that I'd like to bring to this forum that we can all agree on, regardless of who the leader is that everybody should have the right to the best healthcare that's reasonably available, that everybody should have enough money to eat and sleep somewhere dry and warm, and that may have to include some sort of universal basic income with the advent of AI and the fourth industrial revolution. That is something I really liked about Andrew Yang, is that he had an economic vision of the future that was rooted in an understanding of how drastically the economy is changing. And since he said that, it's happened pretty much exactly like that. Marianne speaks so much to the spiritual side of things that if everybody got on the same page with her, all of the other issues would solve themselves. You know, she's got what I call like the juice. You know what I mean? It's yeah. And I think it's really important to, especially to folks that are not yet there in their spiritual path, to have a very direct economic dialogue. And I think universal basic income, with all of its flaws and with the aversions that so many people have to the idea of any type of socialized democracy, I think is something that we might have to accept being a reasonable solution at some point, because the AI is coming for all of us. It's not just coming for the button pushers. It's coming for the artists. It's coming for all of us. So, and I don't mean to say that scary wise. It could be the best thing that ever happens to our species, but it's gonna happen.
You know what's interesting is it's wonderful to hear you talk about her spirituality and how that kind of brings us together, and how she talks, and just the genuine nature of it. And then we go to the other side, we go to the issues. I haven't been able to formulate this thought, though I've had this thought. It's as if we are not even really allowed to have a meaningful discourse with the larger populace, because we can't break through this exposure issue because of her being blacklisted, because of what the media is doing, because just this kind of richness of dialogue. Imagine if we were having this across the nation right now, it would elevate us all intellectually and spiritually, but we're not even being allowed to have it. It's like, I want to be angry at us, but I can't be angry at us because we have not even been exposed to her platform, her ideas, and who she is. Like, I want to say, oh, we're lazy Americans, stupid Americans, Black people who won't even pay attention to the reparations. I can't even do that because 95% of them aren't even aware.
Yes.
You go around and you say Marianne Williamson, which I've done since 2019, 90% of the people don't know who the hell I'm talking about.
I know. And I'm not sure about her. I know you mentioned she's been on TikTok Live. I've seen her page on there. I think she should really not be scared of engaging with dialogues that might seem less professional. Like if the mainstream media isn't going to let her in, then we need to get her in with the people who determine the attention market, which is the young people and the influencers and everybody who's on the internet. And that means having a discussion with people who say things that are inappropriate, people who say things that are very disagreeable, and people who do things just to get views and are shocking, and all of these things that come along with the internet subculture that the youth innately understands this is just, that part of it is entertainment, but there's a real part of it too. And they have to be in unison. It has to be a show because that's what it is. It has to be a show and it has to be real. I think we lose a lot of people just by, yes, exactly. Rita says, what does she have to lose? It's exactly right. And we've seen how successful those type of it's just like everybody I know, even the people that I know that voted for Trump, they didn't at the beginning, they'll defend it now if they're hardcore, but they were like, yeah, he's a little bit of a, he's kind of a dick and maybe I don't really like him, but this and this. Imagine if somebody like Marianne did that, who is easy to like, who has the basic tenets of kindness that people would be like, that's a respectable person. We're lucky that he was so bad at managing this, because it would have been a clean sweep easily if he had kept his mouth shut a little bit. Yeah, a little bit more, because I don't know anybody, like most of my friends, most of the people that I'm around are super, super annoyed at the situation with it's going to be Biden and Trump again, according to them. And because they're not being shown any other options. And I think they're dying for it, but it's just going to take a little bit more like door knocking from the candidate, from Marianne, and from anybody else. It's going to take a lot more like, nah, guys, this is actually the real deal. And there's got to be some quick way to show that and say that. And I think that, that's what I would be focusing on in either talking with her or talking to her social media team or anybody around. It would just be like, let's treat this. This might hurt to hear, but let's treat this like a podcast. Let's treat this like a sitcom writer's room. Let's come up with fun, engaging, diverse ways to talk about serious ideas. I would be talking to comedians if I was her, because comedians, especially in the internet age, are so great at coming up with these quip one-liner things that get you hooked, and then they'll talk and explain something. It could be that, and then Marianne says, well, yeah, I like that, and goes into what she's saying. And boom, I think there's infinite opportunity in these spaces.
So good. She's trying too hard to be acceptable. They have this saying, never wrestle with a pig because the pig likes the mud. And she's trying to wrestle with pigs.
Yes.
And that's their territory. She's trying to get in there with them, trying to be respectable with them, trying not to seem too crystal ladyish with them, and it's never going to work. It's never going to work.
She should be leaning into that, because the people that, even like a lot of people my age, don't take all that stuff seriously, but they'll take somebody who believes in it seriously if that person believes in what they're doing. And I think she got bit last time for talking like this.
Yes.
And I think that was reasonable and that was fair. And that was kind of the big, is she going to be accepted in this moment? And I think it was right to take the risk. And I think that every single day, people will get more and more ready to hear that kind of language. So I would just be hammering right there, because even if it's not her right now, the movement, if we organize and unify, will be a clean sweep easily, I think. With these type of ideas behind it.
It'd be a breath of fresh air. And she, what she's doing? And I'm gonna be quiet, guys, but I'm really liking it. She's moving the needle in that direction.
Yes.
And if she doesn't fully take control of it, she's not gonna reap the rewards of it, because that's where we're going, because it's more authentic.
Yes.
The bullshit is gonna be left behind with people like Trump, with people like Biden. Nobody, that's it. They're done. They're already dead.
Yeah.
But she was going in the right direction anyway, and she needs to stay with that authenticity. Like she says now, I know in my last campaign I swore a little too much. I don't trust people unless they swear.
At least every once in a while.
Every now and again, let it rip.
Yeah.
And so she's trying to be in their club a little bit more now, but she's still challenging them. In their, in their acceptable field of language. which she already can exist outside of that. Like you were saying, that's why she was the most Google presidential candidate in the history of America. You know, when she was on the debates the first time, everybody was like, "Who is this
Yes.
woman? We want to know who
Yes.
this is."
Yes, exactly. They're like, what is this? And
Yes.
that's the best place to start. That's the same thing that I think I try to do with my music is like, I'm trying to do this whole journey of spiritual development through music, but you got to shock them first. You got to say, here's the show, baby, and come see what's up. And I think she did a great job at that. But I think it just, the causes and conditions weren't perfect for it to happen right then because people are scared and people don't want to take risks. But I think now in this election, people do definitely want to take risks. They want to, they don't want anybody they've ever really heard of before. So she's in a good position if 90% of the people don't know.
The first time she did it, I don't think it was a strategy though. You know, I think it was
No.
just not knowing she just got out there. But you're right. I think she needs to hit, you know, the other part, the spiritual part, the love part. That's who she is. That's what she needs to bring, you know, and stop this pussyfooting around. You know,
Yeah,
really.
and I think the algorithm, from what I've seen, rewards authenticity. People that try to recreate videos and trends to go viral, it happens, but there's a limit to that success. My most successful content was when I was walking from my elevator, from my apartment to my elevator, and I was just like, you know what? I want to share something, even though I know people are gonna laugh at me. And I shared a story that I had, and people did laugh at me, but a lot more people took me really seriously. And I think that vulnerability is super key.
Let me ask you this: we being the people you're seeing on the screen, we're not officially aligned. We're not officially connected with the campaign. You know, this is Step in America is a separate entity.
Yeah.
Okay. And the question is, do you see something that we can do outside the campaign? Or yeah, it's really be outside the campaign because we're not asking for their permission.
Sure.
What we can do within the campaign to stir up some shit, if you will, and to go in the direction you're talking about. I mean, can we do that without Marianne being at the helm? You know what I'm saying?
I think if are we talking about the goal of the long term, or are we talking about the campaign? Because I think if we're talking about the goal being the campaign, she has to be involved on some level.
Well, here the goal is when we got the way I see it, her biggest thing is the media, you know, blackout and the awareness. So she doesn't have the awareness. What can we do to get people aware of her in using social media without necessarily bringing her in, being her at the table, if you will?
We need social media video editors and people that upload content for a living to take the spiciest things she's ever said and turn them into music themed memes.
LB, that's what you've been talking about, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. And even more so, if there's any way to get provocative questions to her. I know recently she took some heat for the is something about the Israel issue. I'm not entirely sure. I think, again, these are the things to run towards, not away, because if you have the basic theory of I'm running on principles, then people will forgive you for disagreeing with them on different things. They want to vote with their heart. So I think for us outside the campaign, it's just about continually promoting those principles. I mean, there's a limited amount we can do without a unified banner. I think another beautiful thing would be to brainstorm slogans and hashtags that can unify through the campaign and also outside of it. I think anybody who has any connections to any influencer is just making sure that they're aware, that not even trying to get them to do anything, but I think she's very fit for this space. And if people were aware of her in this space, especially on TikTok, there's a lot of influencers on TikTok that just kind of talk about lots of different things. I'm not that familiar with the space other than my own work, but I know that there's a lot of them. Some way of getting in touch with those people just so that they know who she is, I think is a great start. because it'll happen authentically if people are exposed to the product, in this case to Marianne, in an authentic way. That's what happened with me. So that's, and I think there's a lot of other people way bigger than what I'm doing that would love an opportunity like this.
But I want to let you know that, whatever we can do, and I don't know what that is,
If you want the real answer is study up, start watching TikTok videos, take notes of what goes viral and how, and start making videos.
Okay, I got you.
If your ask is how can I gain attention to promote the ideas that I want, that's definitely the best way.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be a different. I'm happy to talk about everything I know and how to do that. But it requires a lot of prerequisite familiarity with the culture, which means you have to be involved in the community, which means you got to spend time on the app.
Right. We have to find that person or that influencer to do that. That's not me.
No. I mean, if you're saying, okay, we're not going to rely on KRS-One or Marianne.
Oscar Carr is not going to lie.
Yeah. Then the other option, besides leveraging connections and trying to skip the line in order to get people's attention, the option is to become the person yourself, because that's what the apps are made for. They're made to amplify voices just like yours. It's just a language that you have to be able to speak in terms of the creation of the content. And then just like any instrument, once you know how to use it, the algorithm will feed you.
If I can interject here, I'm looking at you, Ree. Not to say here's a bunch of work for you to do, but I'm just thinking about the work that we did together and your work around creating, I don't know how many, was it 50 some videos for Marianne on your YouTube channel. It just,
Yeah, I'm up
yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm up to 39 on that project, and that was my birthday present to myself, because I knew I wasn't going to financially be able to donate 55 times, but I can make 55 videos, although I'm feeling a little pressure now because now I'm all involved with this, and that's kind of slowed down my other project. But I'm at 39, so I'm not far away from completing all 55 videos, and I've tried to have different kind of themes that go through them. So, sometimes I'm slightly different character or mood or attitude or whatever it is. So, because I don't expect any one person to watch all 55, but I'm hopeful that a lot of different people will see one.
Exactly.
And there are some that have done well. And the one thing that I've noticed with the ones that have done well is that they have been shared by Aaron Carson, who lives in Thailand.
Nice.
And he shares stuff for me. And when he does that, those videos tend to get more views. And I've also noticed that he's a lot better at looking at my videos and putting in one line what I was saying.
Exactly. So that technique is called the hook. So in TikTok language, the hook is the thing that has your attention within the first 2 seconds. Used to be the rule when I was coming up in this. Now it's down to 0.75 seconds. They're finding out if you don't have somebody's attention within the first second, they're scrolling away. Because the nature of the beast is that there's so much content and they're trying to find what works. So the hook is a statement or an image that you say first thing that's going to encourage people to watch through the video. You'll recognize this if I say, like a lot of posts will say like, what happens at the end is so funny. That's like that's the most basic version of a hook. Well, if you have something interesting that happens in the first second of the video, if there's a dog doing something that's not normal, and I have some inclination in my mind, oh, it's going to get more interesting, people will stay for a lot of things. And then So the format is really hook, preamble, content, fulfill promise. So the hook is a promise of some kind. Have you heard about what Russia's doing in Ukraine? Then backstory. Last week, Russia purchased like 15 all the explanation of what's going to happen. And then the final piece of information, which you can't get unless you stay at least 2/3 of the way through the video, would be Russia, took over this city or whatever the case may be, the actual fulfillment of the promise. And if you can get that whole thing done in 15 seconds, you're in business. If you can get it done in 3 minutes, then you have a long form video. And if your content is engaging enough, the algorithm will push it. And the first round that you have to get out of is the 10% rule. So this is something that is not authorized by TikTok. So I don't know this. I just know from my experience of what I've done and made is that you have to have a higher than 10% ratio of likes to views in order for the algorithm to boost you to the next subset of the population. And if you can maintain that, then there's a bigger ring at each level of attention. Oh, now we want you to hit 12%. Now we want you to hit 15%. And it'll keep pushing you out until that ratio is no longer hit. So you can tell if a video is going to do well like that. I mean, almost within the first 2 or 3 hours of it posting most of the time.
Wow, a lot of that does sound a little Chinese to me, but it did make sense in my mind. I don't, imagine. Well, time is so relative anyway. I'm suppose I can do a lot of things within under a second. That would be very interesting, but I that just blows my mind to try to come up with something that is like so short and so to the point and like in your face. It's just that slap in the face kind of
Yes.
thing.
Yes. And that type of video will get you new attention. The type of video that you're probably making now, or the type of video that you're interested in making, is the funnel, right? So these little videos that attract a lot of attention are the beginning of the funnel. And then you have in between occasionally more videos that are a little bit longer, that take a little bit more call to engagement. Maybe you plug your store or your campaign or your donation, and then you have the full like juice video of like the 3 minutes of like here for the people that are actually interested. So you're guiding them through this funnel. Yeah, I mean, you have an interesting energy and appearance. Like literally, you could just go like, woo, and then say something like literally. I'm telling you, it's that simple. It's just basic psychological tricks that people know that you're doing, but they still expect you to do it. It's like in rap or in poetry. Like, do I have to rhyme? No, I don't have to rhyme. But if I don't, people won't respect me or think I know what I'm doing in the same way that they will if I prove to them, hey, here's 10 ways for me to do this the way that you want me to do it. Now I have your trust. Let me tell you the way I want to do it.
Like the Beastie Boys, man. Like they did rap and all that stuff, but they were really jazz and they were exploratory musicians, if you listen to their non-popular, I don't know if
Yes.
that's true, but yeah, you're talking like the Beastie Boys.
Spoonful of Sugar, Trojan Horse, all of these things. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. It's been lovely talking to you guys. I'm actually in studio right now and I'm excited to work with the engineer that I have. So I'm gonna wrap this up on my end, but I would really encourage people to connect with me. I put my Instagram in the chat there. I will follow you back if I recognize you from here, or if you have any further continued conversation. I'm currently looking for a lot of ideas to restart the TikTok that I had to start feeding into the campaign. What I would be super open to a constructive conversation surrounding anything about that or other things that can change the world in a fast manner.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I know listening, mostly I listened to you talk and I really I took notes and I was hanging on every word. You're very interesting. You're a dynamic speaker and I enjoyed having you here. I hope you come back into our space. But Kat started out with you, so I think she should finish up with the goodbyes to Jessie.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, well, I I want to say, I don't know, something funny, but I think it's mostly goodbye, but I'm still going to be advocating for, I think there's something with Wendy or Marianne's going to happen.
If it's meant to be, it will be. And
Right.
I think it's important that everybody find what they can do of value. And I just appreciate everybody here for being here. And I'm really excited to see what we all do over the next 10 years, because the time is now and we are us.
This is the time and we are the people.
Yes, exactly. All right. Thanks, guys, so much.
Thanks, Jess. Bye-bye.